Dreamscape Press presents The Hacker, The Deathday Chronicles by Kasia Lasinska. The Second City, The Grand Alliance of American States. Year 2225. 1. My death day was yesterday. The Grand Alliance of American States, the GA, had always taught us that the 8-digit date emblazoned on our wrists didn't lie. We were born with those digits, and when the numbers lined up with the calendar, our time would be up. Apparently, the numbers did lie because I was still here, alive and kicking. The night wasn't what I'd call pleasant, though. Excruciating electric shocks building up from my wrist and shooting through my entire body like a geyser, then falling back into a tumultuous half-sleep, wondering whether this was it. Was this really the end for me? Would I wake again, or would I finally fall into oblivion's dark embrace? In the morning, I stumbled downstairs from my bedroom, passing the small living room. Averting my eyes, I tried my best to ignore the open coffin and elegant GA regulation dress that had been prepared and sent to me the day before. But I couldn't resist. I took several unsteady steps toward the dress, stubbing my toe on the edge of the shabby brown couch in the process, but I hardly noticed. It hung on the window, dimming the early morning light streaming in through the glass to our second-floor apartment. I had refused to examine it last night, knowing it would be the last thing I ever wore would have made the inevitability of my death day all the more real. It was best not to think about it. But now, running my fingers through the flimsy black material, I had more questions than answers. A sour taste lingered in my mouth, and a tightness clawed at my chest. It was as if someone had tied an invisible rubber band around my lungs. The sound of footsteps against the ragged floorboards and the familiar creak of the living room door behind me made me jump. I turned on my heel and focused on a pair of eyes, dark brown like my own. "Mom," I murmured, running to meet her for an embrace. She threw her arms around me and I inhaled deeply, breathing in her sweet scent of cinnamon rolls mixed with honey. "Emmeline, my sweet Emmeline." Mom's voice was muffled as she'd buried her face in my hair. She held on for a long moment before pulling away and studying me. Silent tears streamed down her cheeks and dampened the collar of her black dress. My throat constricted, her morning outfit. I attempted a small smile, which she returned. But a second later, her expression darkened, the lines creasing her face more pronounced than ever. She hurried to close the blinds, her eyes flitting to the street corner. No safety patrols on duty. "Mom, she shook her head, cutting me off. "Emmeline Vega, listen to me." She peeked through the blinds again. "It's not safe for you here. You need to go, immediately. Get somewhere safe. That's the most important thing right now. Do you understand?" "But Mom, do you understand?" I nodded. "Good. Then disconnect your comp from the network." I blinked, my mouth falling open. "What?" "No way, I can't function without it. Listen to me, this is a matter of life and death. Disconnect that comp." "But it's illegal. You living and breathing is illegal. Think about that. And I know your dad and I always told you not to. But we never expected." The tips of my fingers tingled. This. We stood in silence, our eyes locked on one another, before Mom spoke again. "You'll still be able to use your comp without being traced. Give yourself a new identity like Dad taught you." I winced. It was painful to think about Dad. Mom rarely brought him up, not since the night they took him. The nightmares still haunted me. She had said the safety patrols recruited him for a special job, but I always had an inkling there was more to the story. I'd never pushed her for answers before, but maybe I should have. Shuddering, I focused back on Mom's kind face. "I'll disconnect it now." I pulled my comp, a small gray rectangular device we had to carry at all times, out of my pocket and flipped the cover open. A thick red stripe glared at me from the screen. On it, in a bold dark font, were the words. Name, Emmeline Vega. Age 16 years. Status, deceased. GA credits, 0. My inside squirmed. Somehow, seeing those words written in digital ink made them more real, even if they weren't true. No, not here. Go offline and do the full disconnect later. Please, Em, you need to go. The patrols will be here any minute to pick up your body and deliver your death certificate. If you're still here. Mom blanched. Focus on getting someplace safe. Find shelter first. In the second city? I couldn't imagine feeling safe on these streets, not with the patrols posted on every corner. And the ruined skyscrapers downtown weren't strangers to patrol raids either. Not in the city. I'll give them an excuse why your body is missing, but they might come looking. You need to go somewhere they won't find you. She hesitated. Beyond the edge. My eyes widened. But that's illegal. Again. Everything you do from now on will be. But if the patrols catch you during a routine check and see your death day has passed. I stared at Mom. The tightness in my chest made it almost impossible to breathe. This was our reality, and it made me lightheaded. An image of the patrol's shiny white guns glistening at their waists swam to the forefront of my mind. I suppressed a shudder. I know you're afraid. But they could do so much worse than shoot you on sight. Mom's voice was a low murmur. I leaned in closer. Worse? Mom balled her hand into a fist to keep it from shaking. The patrols, they're trained in interrogation techniques. Her voice broke. She shook her head and looked away. I stepped toward her, a chill passing through me. How do you know? It doesn't matter. She wiped a tear from her cheek and twisted around to face me, her expression stern. They'd want to know how it happened, how you survived. And I won't let them do that to you. But I don't know how, a sudden thought struck me. They'd connect me to you. And Louis. The color drained from my face. They'd come for you. And they'd come for Everett and Alma, the siblings next door who were more like family than friends. Mom pressed her lips together but said nothing. I won't let that happen. I glanced around the small living room. Where is Louis, anyway? I sent him out to school early. I didn't want him to be here when... Mom didn't finish her sentence, but she didn't have to. My brother's face when we'd exchanged teary goodbyes yesterday surfaced in my mind. His buoyant demeanor was subdued, his eyes, the same shade of brown, youthful and typically full of hope, lacked their signature spark. It was the look of a sibling whose life wouldn't be the same again, and it cut deep into my core. But we had both known what was coming. I'd spent my entire life wondering about my death day. Expecting it. Dreading it. Wanting to get it over with 1 minute, while wishing it didn't have to be this way the next. Such was the life of a fleeter. My whole life I'd never dared to truly live, to dream, to hope for a career that I'd never be chosen for with a death day as short as mine. A dark cloud had hung over me, the dull and hollow emptiness in the pit of my stomach gnawing at me from the inside and snowballing with every passing day. Everett and Alma had held it together though, and for that I was grateful. But the same couldn't be said for the other neighbors. Their pitying looks had left an acrid taste in my mouth. Mrs. Farina had dropped off a bag of flour for Mom. I bit back the bitter sting of tears welling up in my eyes. As if a bag of freaking flour could console her after the death of a daughter. And there was no chance Mom would ever let the GA hold celebrations for me, even though she and Louis could really use the money. The last special celebrations took place a few months ago, and that ended in a bloodbath. No way I'd let her take that chance for a few GA credits or extra food rations. No life was worth sacrificing for a bit of food. But that went out the window the second I didn't die. No body, no celebrations. No body. Safety patrols asking questions. My heart hammered in my chest. Mom was right, I needed to go. Now. Stepping forward, I pulled her into a tight embrace, letting her sweet cinnamon scent wash over me once more. May time be on your side. I willed my voice not to crack. Blinking the moisture out of my eyes, I logged out and took my comp offline. Then I grabbed my trusty dagger off the counter in the hallway, an elegant black needlepoint blade with a curved handle I'd received from the government 10 days before my death day as a token for my service. I tucked my hair into my collar and left my childhood home for the last time.